Kumen229 here with another Topic of the Week video. This week I'm going to be talking about some issues with Bleach characters. This week's topic was submitted by a Tumblr anon, and their topic is: since you made a video about Luka's character problems from Miraculous Ladybug, can you share your same opinions on Renji, Abarai, and Orihime Inoue's character problems from Bleach? Yes, I can. Now, I want to be upfront. I haven't read all of Bleach. I've read the Substitute arc and a lot of the Soul Society arc, but I've been talking with friends who have read or very, very, very familiar with Bleach for years about it, especially after the disastrous ending came out. So I know a lot about this stuff, even if I haven't read all of it. But there are a few issues that I can actually point out, even without having read all of it, and just simply knowing what's going to happen. First off, I want to talk about Renji because I really, really hate Renji. I just hate Renji with all of my being. Alright. So let's give a little context to Renji's character and the issues I have with him. Renji is introduced at the very end of the Substitute arc, and he comes in. He's violent, cruel, sociopathic. He beats Rukia, tries to, fights Ichigo. And, I mean, he's violent with Rukia. Keep this in mind. And then in the Soul Society arc, he's fighting to make sure that Rukia gets executed. But we also learn that they were childhood friends and that he feels like she abandoned him because she left to become a Kuchiki. Except he actually pushed her into that. There's literally a flashback where she brings this up and she's like, I don't know, they're approaching me and talking about, me joining the family. And he's like, yeah, go for it. And he's just like, oh no, she went. So, Renji doesn't really have much right to complain about that. The Soul Society arc is where Renji starts having some issues with his character. On some cases, he seems like he's not that bad. Then in other cases, he's just absolutely a scumbag. At some points, he tries to be, jovial with Rukia, even though he's fighting to make sure she gets executed. And then, oh my gosh, the turning point, the big turning point with his character is the fight he has with Ichigo in the Soul Society arc. So he is fighting tooth and nail to stop Ichigo from rescuing Rukia. Remember, Rukia is up for execution. Renji refuses to allow him to save her. He wants Rukia dead. Absolutely dead, gone. Right? Except apparently not, because once Ichigo beats him, he's just like, please save Rukia, because I could not. You didn't even make an effort. Not even a single effort to help Rukia. You've been fighting for the side that's been trying to murder her. But a switch got flipped. And this is an issue I've talked about specifically with Danger 89. Renji's character is so freaking inconsistent. After this, I'm told he's so much better. I really don't care, because it's this absolute horrid handling of his character that makes me just hate him. He's introduced awful. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh guys, did you know that they were childhood friends? And he still wants to execute her, but no. It feels like Kubo didn't even know what he was doing with Renji until he decided, oh, you know what, this is what I want. Okay. If he just started the Soul Society arc with Renji being all angsty about it, and then maybe helping Ichigo, maybe this could have worked. Maybe. But that's not what happened. Because Renji does straight up try to fight Ichigo to keep him from rescuing Rukia. And then afterwards he's like, please save Rukia. You have no right to say that. That's the entire reason Ichigo went to the Soul Society in the first place, was to go and save Rukia. That was his entire goal. The handling of Renji's character and his transformation from being just this sociopathic, violent monster to a chill guy who hangs out with the heroes. It was handled in such an absolutely sloppy way. It's actually genuinely insulting. And I know a lot of people I've seen who like Renji, but it's like, people like Renji after this. But I honestly, you cannot reconcile these two versions of Renji. Because on one hand, you have the sympathetic childhood friend of Rukia's, then you've got the one that we were introduced to at the very end of the Substitute arc. If you're going to have a development from one end to the other, it needs to be more natural. You need to have a Vegeta arc, or a Zuko arc, or something like that, in order to make this believable. This is not believable. Not at all. And it really kills me, because I feel like if Renji was handled better, I would like him more, but because he was introduced in such an awful way, as such an awful monster of a person, he was portrayed as an awful monster later, even after we were given the backstory about him being Rukia's, childhood friend. Now, I'm sorry, I don't have sympathy for him. And because of the sloppy handling of that, it makes Renji just this weird, sort of ambiguous character. I'm assured he's so much better later on, but I can't stand him because of this. And honestly, I don't think no matter how far I get, I'm ever going to like Renji, because every scene I saw him in, he pissed me off. Especially when they're trying to play him off as sympathetic to Rukia, like, no, doesn't work. Honestly, when you really look at it, like, it was, even in the Soul Society arc, Kubo had some issues with his writing. It wasn't as bad as it got later on, especially when things started getting into Hueco Mundo. But there were issues. Another issue, oh gosh, Orihime. The sad part is, I adore Orihime in the Substitute arc. Knowing what happens to her and having her basically be reduced to Kurosaki-kun kills me. Okay. She's introduced as, the cute, goofy, bubbly, classmate of Ichigo who has a crush on him. Ha ha ha, he'll never return those feelings. Until at least Kubo decides to be spiteful and screw over his entire story just to spite Shonen Jump. But hey, that's much later on down the line. It's so funny because I was actually introduced to Orihime as the far less interesting one, who's basically reduced to having a crush on Ichigo and occasionally having a moment where she does something. So actually going back and reading Bleach, I actually found myself really loving Orihime's character. You see her friendship with Tatsuki, her relationship with her brother, all the drama that came out of that. And you actually get to see, especially her meeting Ishida and them teaming up and going into Soul Society together. And it's like, wow, there's actually a lot to like about her. So what happened? Well, really, it seems like a lot of the stuff about her character was stripped out, and a lot of cases, she was just left with being a girl who liked Ichigo, which is so dumb, because her feelings for Ichigo are so freaking superficial, it's literally a joke. When it's first brought up in the Substitute arc, Orihime is just like, ha ha ha, doesn't Ichigo have a goofy face? And that's the reason for her crush. That's not justification enough to be love. But it didn't really feel like it was being treated that seriously. It almost felt like there was an acknowledgement that Orihime didn't really love Ichigo. She just had a crush on him for odd reasons, because she's an odd person. She's a goofball. I like that. But you still had parts that, scenes where she was actually could be serious. In fact, the one little arc in the substitute arc where she actually gains her powers and the little hair clip fairy stuff. That little story arc, you got to see her stand up and do something. It's like, that's cool. I like that. You see her care about Tatsuki. Tatsuki is her best friend. You see how she was, she had a hard time, and Tatsuki helped her when she was younger. And they grew up, and Tatsuki was very protective of her. And this time, she protected Tatsuki. Oh my gosh, this is great. Honestly, her friendship, I use that term loosely because she's only vaguely connected to Ichigo. She's not like someone like Chad or Tatsuki, or both longtime friends of Ichigo. She's just kind of there. And even then, a lot of the stuff about Ichigo's really... Ichigo and her don't have, a relationship. They barely have a friendship. So you would think, especially when you start seeing her interactions with Ishida, which are very, very cute, very much, it looks like they're developing something with them. You would think that her development would be growing up and realizing that her feelings for Ichigo, there's not really much there. But then as you see her budding relationship with Ishida, so you would think, okay, so this makes sense. So she would fall in love with Ishida, and they would have a relationship that would parallel the Ichiruki relationship. And it's like, alright. Alright, that's actually cool. It's sensible. It's something that really makes sense. But it doesn't happen. One thing that really bugged me that I learned about is that when she wants to go to Ichigo, when she's being kidnapped to the Huecamundo, this would have been a really great time to highlight her, relationship to Tatsuki. Why couldn't she have gone to Tatsuki to try to get help or warn them or something? If she wanted to visit someone, why couldn't she visit the grave of her brother or something like that? Something that highlights something actually relevant to her character. I mean, yeah, I know there are a lot of issues with a lot of other characters getting completely sidelined in Bleach later on. But there's so much potential with Orihime's character that's just not done. Development with her powers, really developing her as a character, someone who stands on her own and doesn't need everyone else to protect her. She's one of the people who goes into the Soul Society to help Ichigo rescue Rukia. It's just... it pains me because there's so much potential with Orihime's character. And I see a lot of people who hate Orihime for bland portrayals afterwards, but this is the problem. This is something that you actually see a lot of stories that run a while, is that a character can start off great and then end up just bleh. And I've seen that with a lot of shows where you watch a show and you're like, I love this character, and as time goes on they just become either a complete character of themselves or just bland and uninteresting. And this is one of the long-term problems with Bleach, is that it just got less interesting. There's a lot of stuff with these characters that just feels like it wasn't handled properly. I know at one point, he said that he ended up losing a lot of his notes, and I'm like, okay, but then write more notes. It's like, as a writer myself, I understand you rely a lot on notes when you're putting stuff together, and that losing them might be tough, but if you're writing an ongoing story, it's important to keep track of stuff. It's important to develop these things, to have an idea of what you're going, especially if you know you're going to be writing something that's going to go years and years and years. You at least should have some sort of plans. And it's like in a lot of this stuff, it feels like there was no plan. With Renji, there certainly was no real plan, because holy crap, his character was go flip, 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 until he just a switch flips, and without even any real sense or logic, he becomes a different person. And the Orihime, it's like, parts of her character feel like they just fade away. And the stuff that was actually interesting about her in the beginning, what made her such a likable character, just kind of get thrown to the side. And as a character, she doesn't really get enough development, which that can be said about a lot of stuff in Bleach. But and that's really a sad part. It's really the sad part, because you have all these characters, all this interesting story, and so much of it was just wasted because Kubo just stopped caring enough to write the story. It's a shame, because Kubo, when he's like at his peak, he writes some excellent stuff. I think I talked about this in my live action Bleach movie video, where there's some brilliant moments of writing in the substitute arc that were completely cut out of the movie, especially the build up to the reveal of Ichigo's the reveal that the day that Ichigo's mom died. And even especially having Tatsuki be the one to recognize the day, because she's known him since she was a kid. She knows all about this. She explains this to Orihime. And it's like, and that's good. It shows her closeness to Ichigo without even having to go out and go, by the way, she knows all of this because she's friends with Ichigo. Or having someone else say. No, she explains it. It's like, it makes sense. It's great. But Kubo at his middling or at his worst, it's just, come on. So yeah, I think that's about it for this topic. If you want to submit a topic to me, you can comment below. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Tumblr, send me an ask and put topic : and then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Or if you're on the Discord, you can go into the topic submissions channel and then submit a topic to me right there. Just make sure to follow the rules I'll be posting down below. If you want to watch the last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done. So what are your issues with how Renji and Orihime were written in Bleach? Please comment below, and thank you for watching.